Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Hello, hello. Hopefully I'm coming in okay. I think I am. Hello, hello. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to hashtag TNT Joe 5. Tech news that Jerome Ortega finds interesting. I am your host, Jerome Ortega. This is episode something because I lost count. This is also day something in quarantine because I also equally lost count. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully everyone's doing well. Good afternoon to everyone here in the US. Good morning, good evening to everyone else around the world. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Hopefully everyone's staying safe. We have quite a bit of news today. Maybe not the most exciting news, but definitely a conversation to be had, and that's really it. So we'll get into that. Life has been very busy for me lately, so much so that I am trying to reprioritize the work around me because I am actually stretching myself thin, and I can't do that for much longer, especially when I want to focus on streaming on this channel, on my other YouTube channel. So hopefully I can alleviate some of that soon so I can make this more of my primary focus. But let's go ahead. Let's say hi to everybody. I see Levin was the first in here. Jerome, what's up, fam? What's going on, Levin? Hopefully you're doing well. He also says here on the grind as always. I am trying to do my best to make sure this show is on time, on the minute, every day. And so far, I think I've been good about that. So again, Levin, welcome. Nice to see you again. Brian is in here as well with the Birdman emoji. Let's see what we got on deck. We got a couple things. Let's just see what we can get out of that. What kind of conversations we can have out of here, because sometimes there's a divide, and I wonder if that divide is because tech people think one way, and then your average, like someone who just needs a phone, thinks a different way. And I think it makes for a good conversation, or at least brings topics up to the surface that typically wouldn't be addressed otherwise. Team Verizon is in here as well. Brian, welcome, by the way. Team Verizon is in here. I remember the comment about everyone on here just hanging out, having a good time. So I have a beer ready for the show. I'm jealous, Team Verizon. That's great. Hopefully you can relax and just chill out and again have a good conversation about what's going on. Hi everyone. Hope you're all having a pleasant day. I hopefully everyone is. Hopefully everyone is. Levin says here, I'll get my beer drink on when I get off. There you go, Levin. That's the way to do it. So let's go ahead. Let's start discussing the news for today, yesterday, and whatever else is coming around. There's a couple other people in here as well. Ryu Eugene is in here. Hi. Hey, Ryu. Nice to see you again, man. Welcome to the stream again. Nice to see you pop in here. Max Tech Studios is in here as well. Hi, Jerome. What's going on, Max Tech Studios? Oops, I'm late. You're good. You're good. No worries. We're just getting started. We have a couple things to talk about today. If you guys didn't notice, the highlight of today's show is going to be on the Snapdragon 865 Plus. There were a lot of people asking about whether or not this was real, and the rumors kept flying around, and it was just a matter of time before they announced the 865 Plus as being official. And here it is, and just in time because it looks like a couple phones are going to start to carry this Snapdragon 865 Plus chipset. Whether or not you're excited, let me know. I think this is, obviously a higher performing internal for a smartphone, but at what cost? I think, the true successor to this 865 or 865 Plus will be the Snapdragon 875 that will actually, I thought I read an article that said that it might be released later in the fourth quarter of 2020, but for sure, at least in the first quarter of 2021. So let's get into it. This article from Tech Radar says Android gaming phones are about to get faster thanks to the Snapdragon 865 Plus. And I wonder if that's the target they're trying to, or that's the demographic they're trying to target here, is maybe make a bigger mainstay or a bigger focus on gaming. Again, I am not the biggest gamer when it comes to mobile. I have my own PC. I play on Steam, and I would rather play on that or maybe a console than on mobile. But this is a direction that I can see happening. There is a small niche right now for gaming phones and people who want to play games on their phones. And I think it's a matter of time before a lot of these phones are able to just dock up right onto, I think you can do some of this already, but basically take your phone, turn it into kind of a PC, right? Hook it up onto a bigger monitor, a bigger display, hook a controller up wirelessly, and then just have at it. So Qualcomm's enhanced chipset will appear in the gaming-focused Asus ROG 3 phone. There we go. So I guess, is this the first phone that's going to have it? The Asus ROG 3? I think that was the rumor, but nothing was really confirmed. So new Android phones are about to hit a gaming-themed speed boost in the latter half of 2020, thanks to the debut of an enhanced version of the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset. Qualcomm Snap 865 Plus will arrive in the Asus ROG Phone 3 first. Okay, so yeah, the first one, according to the chipset manufacturer, and it'll boast faster CPU, GPU, and Wi-Fi speed. So yes, even though gaming is important for a small, niche of people, I also want to know what else this Snap 865 Plus is going to have other than just a higher price point. Qualcomm Snap 865, okay, I just read that. It'll also be coupled with the same speedy 5G modem as found in the Snap 865 chipset. This is a small bump over the 140 devices that carry to the Snap 865. There's 140 devices right now using the Snap 865. Why do I feel like that's such a high number? Anyway, which was first introduced in the Samsung Galaxy S20 earlier this year, you'll experience a 10% uptick in the CPU clock speeds and 10% faster graphics rendering. that's a question too, is so 10% faster clock speeds, 10% faster graphics rendering. Is this really going to matter at the end of the day for most people? I would think not. I mean, obviously it's welcoming, right? There's nothing wrong with faster CPU power, faster GPU power, but at what cost does it become? I mean, for me, it's like, at what cost is it too much? Because already a lot of us, me included, we're already kind of like, well, I'm not paying that much money for a Snapdragon 865 because it's so expensive already. These phones are so much money. And now there's going to be a newer version, a higher end version of the 865. But again, at what cost? Gaming phones are becoming a thing, really. All of this serves the needs of a growing list of the best gaming phones. There are a few standout gaming phones, including the existing Asus ROG 2, the Razer Phone 2, both from PC makers that have turned attentions to phones. But neither device has sold earth-shattering amounts. Instead, the Snap 865 Plus has a more important role to play in smartphones from mainstream companies that are betting big on mobile gaming. Samsung and OnePlus are constantly highlighting the gaming capabilities of their new handsets. That said, we're unlikely to see the Snap 865 Plus in the new crop, of Galaxy Note 20 phones? Wait. Last year's Note 10 and Note 10 Plus skipped the 855 Plus chipset, but we did see the chipset arrive in the Galaxy Z Flip in early 2020. I really thought that the Galaxy Note 20 was going to have the 865 Plus. I just assumed that that was the natural progression of essentially a Galaxy Note 20 that's just like a Galaxy S20 or S20 Plus Ultra, whatever. I would have assumed that if you want to stand out from the S20 Plus or the S20 Ultra, then you're going to go ahead and put the Snapdragon 865 Plus in it. But maybe the only biggest differentiator of the Galaxy Note 20 is the S Pen and the fact that they're going to fix the autofocus in its camera. Maybe that's enough to justify buying a Note 20 over an S20. Again, I really thought they were going to put a Snap 865 Plus in it. Also, that was a joke, by the way. I feel bad for anyone that has an S20 Ultra that's dealing with autofocus issues on their camera. That's a lot of money to spend on a phone that's having issues. I don't know how much of an issue that is still today, but from what I've heard, it's still an issue. After the Asus ROG 3, expect the inevitable OnePlus 8T to push the envelope when it comes to mobile chip clock speeds and gaming performance. It's the type of small performance boost that Android phone manufacturers will love to talk about when going head-to-head with Apple's iPhone 12. That's really interesting because, obviously the OnePlus 8T is most likely going to incorporate the Snap 865 Plus on it, because why would they release another phone 6 months down the road and not try to pack it with whatever they can to tell people that the OnePlus 8 is no longer the phone to buy. Now it's the 8T. Now it's the 8T Pro. And, we have this new 865 Plus chipset in here, and it's 10% faster, although it's still probably not as fast as the current chipset in an iPhone 11 Pro or an 11 Pro Max. But it also begs to question, what is the price of this Galaxy Note 20 going to be? Well, no, now it's not even going to have an 865 Plus. So what is the price of a Note 20 going to be? But what's the price of a OnePlus 8T going to be? What's the price of an 8T Pro? And I've been saying this for quite a bit. I really don't think that OnePlus should be increasing the prices of the 8T or the 8T Pro. Instead, they should just keep those prices and then knock the price down of the current OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro. Either knock it down. I mean, if you want to be like you want to save your profit margins or whatever, drop $50 off of it. But I would think dropping $100 off of it would be even better. But that's the Snapdragon 865 Plus. I do have this other story here from Ars Technica just to make sure that we cover all the bases of the 865 Plus. So it's saying here that it packs Wi-Fi 6E That's, I think, one thing we didn't note. And then again, higher clock speeds, a 10% increase there. Qualcomm is announcing its mid-cycle chip upgrade today, the 865 Plus. These Plus chips are higher clock versions of the major designs that were released earlier in the year, but new for the 865 Plus specifically is Wi-Fi 6E compatibility. So really what they're trying to say is it's an overclocked version of the Snapdragon 865. And it looks like this Wi-Fi 6E is another thing to add into it. So the CPU is officially up to 3.1 gigahertz now. And since the GPU on the Snap 865 runs at 600 megahertz, the Plus version should be up around 660. The big news, though, is the addition of Qualcomm's Fast Connect 6900 connectivity chip, which, along with peak speeds of up to 3.6 gigabits per second, will bring Wi-Fi 6E to smartphones. Currently, Wi-Fi works in the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequencies, but 6E will extend Wi-Fi into the 6 gigahertz spectrum. I wonder how fast it'll be, and then I quickly read here. Theoretical top speeds won't increase, but the extra spectrum will help Wi-Fi work better in crowded areas. So that's good, at least. When they say better in crowded areas, does that mean that, well, I don't, where are you using Wi-Fi in really crowded areas? That's another question. So, I mean, maybe that's on a, per user basis, but specifically for me, I'm not really using Wi-Fi in crowded areas. Maybe it's a thing if you're using Wi-Fi at like a Starbucks or something, but that's not something that happens to me often. For the most part, I'm using Wi-Fi when I'm at home, and no one is really congesting that network except for me. Nobody's really using the bandwidth as much as I am. So yes, again, all of these things are great technologies. Having 6E will help with dispersing or getting better efficiency when it comes to Wi-Fi. But is this really a deal breaker for most people? Like, would you buy an 865 Plus just because it has 10% faster CPU and GPU and it has Wi-Fi 6E compatibility? Is that worth the extra money you're going to pay for it? Or would you rather save money and then just now buy the outdated Snapdragon 865 processor with whatever phone it comes with? And who knows how much they're really going to take off the price when it comes down to it at the end of the day. So it says here, you can only fit so many bits into the current 2.4 gig and 5 gig airways. Okay, that's right. So yes, obviously it's not just you using that specific Wi-Fi network, but like imagine me being in an apartment building in the city of Chicago, and there's like 50 different Wi-Fi networks in there. So yes, having that 6 gigahertz spectrum will be helpful. But and so like, yeah, like I'm not taking anything away from that, but I will say at the same time, in my apartment, when I'm using right now, I use a Google Wi-Fi or Google Nest Wi-Fi or whatever they call it. I haven't noticed any kind of real degradation, right? I'm not laying in bed and I'm watching a YouTube video and I'm like, God, I can't watch this YouTube video because it's been downscaled to 360 or whatever, because it's usually fine. I haven't had many issues when it comes to my personal use for it. Now, if you're having issues, I can totally understand. And maybe then that's a reason to upgrade. But I think at the end of the day, most people probably don't even notice that kind of quality issues when it comes to their Wi-Fi. And I'm not saying don't get something because of, Wi-Fi 6E. I just think about what you're spending, how much you're spending on a phone before you decide that's a deal breaker or it's not a deal breaker. And it says here, if you and all your neighbors are filling the airwaves and causing a traffic jam, everyone will have to slow down. 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi will add more lanes for traffic. So that's a good thing, because as people start to buy these phones that now incorporate Wi-Fi 6E, now there's going to be 2.4 gig, 5 gig, and 6 there. So that's just going to take congestion down overall. So even if you don't buy one and someone else does, that means they might be, helping relieve that congestion. So that's not a bad thing at the end of the day. It says you need a new Wi-Fi 6E access point and a Wi-Fi 6E device in order to use Wi-Fi 6E, which makes sense. So also factor that in, right? If you're buying a new phone and you want to take advantage of Wi-Fi 6E, make sure that, you're buying, I guess the latest and greatest hardware that incorporates that as well, or integrates it, or whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. Has the availability for it. The new standard was only ratified by the FCC in April, so there are no consumer 6E access points yet. So even if you buy this phone, will you be able to take advantage of 6E yet? Maybe if you can get your hands on hardware that can do it, but who knows how long that'll be. And by then your 2 or 3 month old phone might be coming out of date when OnePlus decides to release a newer device another 2 or 3 months down the road after that. We've got to start somewhere though, and it looks like smartphones will make the jump first. Qualcomm's press release mentions that one of the first phones to launch with the Snap 865 Plus and presumably Wi-Fi 6E will be the Asus ROG Phone 3, which will be unveiled July 22nd. So that's the news I have for the Snap 865 Plus. Don't know if any of you are excited about it. I still don't own a phone that has a Snapdragon 865. I don't know when I will. But I'm sure it's just nice to have. It's nice to know what's coming. It's nice that the technology's there. It's hard for me to justify the price when it comes down, as far as a bottom line. But who knows what these phones are going to price for. I'm guessing they're still going to be pretty high at the end of the day. Anyway, let me get into chat here. Let me say hi to everyone that I've missed. Let me see here. Levin is saying that chipset will make phones sky high in price. Yeah, I'm just curious what it's really going to bring it to. Ryu says, I'm 50-50 on a OnePlus 8T Pro. Having it, I think it really depends on what the 8T Pro is going to have. I'm also wondering what the price is going to be for it. If OnePlus even makes an 8T Pro. I mean, why wouldn't they, right? I can't imagine why they wouldn't make an 8T Pro, because if they make a OnePlus 8T and they don't make a Pro version of it, then I think people might question like, well, I should just buy an 8T over an 8 Pro. I don't know. I guess it really depends on what they're going to be adding into their phones. Team Fry says, would love to get a gaming phone, but they're way expensive for me, at least. They're up there, especially when they're jam-packed with specs, for sure. Brian says, the Snap 865 series is way too expensive. I feel like a lot of us feel similarly to that. C. Butler, hey, Jerome, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you again. Appreciate you stopping by. How you doing? Happy, what's the day today? And now my watch isn't even... Whatever day it is. Is today Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. Welcome, man. Welcome to the stream. Brian says you can buy a decently spec'd laptop for the prices of these 865 Plus devices. That's also food for thought, for sure. Before you shell out that money, that's a really good thing to think about. I mean, I say that, and then I have my P40 Pro Plus here that I paid $1,300 for it, and I think about all the other things I could have spent $1,300 for. I think Six said this not too long ago, but I could have easily bought a new PS5 and an Xbox Series X or whatever, right? Is that what the new Xbox is called? I forgot. And I probably would have still had money left over at the end of the day. Marcus A is here. Gaming phones are super niche, but it's hard to find a mobile game that is engaging enough to warrant a device for it. Consoles and physical feedback from games feels right. So I agree. That's the same way I feel about it. I feel like the experience on mobile is not where I need it to be yet. Will it get there? I think it will. I just don't know how long that's going to take. For now, I'll stick to Steam. I'll stick to consoles if I ever go back to that. And I'll stick to the rinky-dinky mobile games like Scrabble that I play. And I think that's the only game I have that I've been playing currently. Anyway, Marcus, welcome to the stream, man. Nice to see you here again. Okay. Yeah, Team Bri is saying I can get a PS4 and games for the price. There you go. Marcus is also saying, what's up? Beta 2 for Android 11 dropped today. I actually have that as an article today, Marcus, so we're going to go over that. Appreciate you telling me, though. Ryu says, I don't think they'll make an 8T. It'll make the 8 irrelevant, and 8T Pro is a possibility, though. So you think they're actually just going to go ahead and completely skip an 8T this time and not do a 6-month refresh? That would be the first time they're doing that, though, right? Since how long has... They've been doing 6-month releases for a while. But, I mean... you could be right. I wouldn't be surprised either if that's something that they end up doing. Huh. I don't know. I really, with the OnePlus Nord coming out and all these other phones coming out for OnePlus, I'm sure that they have something in the works, or maybe they're completely changing their schedule when it comes to phone releases. So yeah, you could be right. Who knows? Let me see here. Jay Mill, it's been a minute, man. What's good, Rome? Not much, man. Just hanging in there, doing these streams, staying busy, being super busy. I was telling people earlier in the stream that like work has been so busy that I've really been neglecting like my main priorities when it comes to my streams and my channels, and I really need to buckle down and reprioritize that. But Jay Mill, nice to see you, man. Welcome to the stream. Abdul Razak Abdul, welcome to the stream. If I pronounce your name wrong, please correct me. Bus stop, airport. We use Wi-Fi a lot, so yeah. There you go. That's a great case scenario there, especially if you work at the airport. I worked at Chicago O'Hare for a long time, and Wi-Fi was readily available, for a lot of people there. So that would be a great case use for it as well. But Abdul, welcome to the stream, man. Nice to see you. Tim is in here. Tim Schumann plays Jeopardy music. Where's my pay? Tim, is this the way you had to contact me? Have I been MIA? I've been so busy, Tim. I haven't even taken a look. You got time for streams, phones, and gaming systems, but you don't got time to send me my paper. Tim, I owe you that. I will look for it today. I have God, after today, I have to go ship out stuff for my mom's Etsy business. And then I have 2 streams I am covering today. And then I have video edit. Oh my God, I have so much to do. Tim, I will get you your paper. I'm sorry, man. I know. Tim, welcome. Thank you for stopping by here to like notify me of news. Tim also says, hit me up when you have time, man. Got to get back to school. Hopefully school's doing well for you, man. Going to mute the tab, but stay in stream to pump up those stats. Thank you, Tim. It's not necessary, but I appreciate it. / jokes, literally asking for a physical piece of paper or a photo. I got you, man. I got you. No worries. Yeah, no worries, dude. I know how life gets. Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. So anyway, let me get back into the stream here. Ryu says there are a few good mobile games like Brawl Stars. What's Brawl Stars? Is that like Super Smash Bros? Is that what that's like? I've never heard of Brawl Stars. Vijay is in here as well. Vijay Kumar. Hey, Jerome. Hey, Vijay, how's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Nice to have you. Nice to see you again. Appreciate you stopping by. Hopkins is in here as well. Gaming phones don't get full fat games, only free to play shit. The Nintendo Switch is both cheaper and better alternative with good full fat console games. Or FAT. Hopkins, yeah, I totally hear you. Like if I was to carry, so I guess that's kind of a trade-off, right? Like you can have a phone that has everything you need to do your phone stuff on it, and then you can use it for gaming. But for me, I feel like that gaming experience isn't where I need it to be. Having a Switch, though, is a great gaming experience, especially for a lot of people who want to have a portable device. Who might not even use it for the TV, right? They just want to have a portable device. The Nintendo Switch is a great device. I used to have one. I just haven't had time to mess with one. So yeah. Anyway, Hopkins, welcome to the stream, man. Appreciate you stopping by. Okay. Jay Mill says, yeah, I've seen the replays. Always good to be able to catch a live. Well, I'm glad you're able to catch a live today, Jay Mill. So thank you, man. Thank you for stopping by. Adrian is in here as well. Adrian, how's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Hi, Jerome. Nice to see you in action every day. I'm trying. I've been pretty consistent with it. How's the life without G services with Huawei App Gallery? Give me a second, Adrian. I'm actually going to talk about that today. I want to kind of give another update to my experience with the Huawei P40 Pro Plus. For anyone who is watching who hasn't been on my stream, I do have a Huawei P40 Pro Plus that I spent $1,300 on that I had, I guess, imported from China. That does not have Google services on it. And I was able to do a bunch of updates last night because I was like, okay, Jerome, you don't have a lot of apps. you've worked around some of these apps, but there are some other apps that you definitely should get. And I'll talk about that today, Adrian. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I just want to like make time for a couple other stories because I know I've been very heavy on Huawei lately, but I want to make sure that like we talk about some of the main things that's going on as well. But Adrian, welcome, man. Welcome to the stream. Appreciate you stopping by. Ryu says it's better if you search for Brawl Stars. Okay, I'll do that, Ryu. I can't promise that. I mean, I will eventually. It's just, yeah, I have 8 million things. And sometimes I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Just like Tim here asking for a piece of paper. Team Verizon says the most I play on mobile are console ports like XCOM, KOTOR. Am I saying that right? Castlevania, Dead Cells. Ooh, I like Dead Cells. It's been a while since I played that, etc. There you go. Ryu says it's not like COD mobile, but the controls are pretty good. Cool, man. I'll take a look. I'll take a look for sure. So, okay, real quick before I move on to the next story, I know there are people here in stream and chatting, and I appreciate it. But really quick, guys, I know it sounds cheesy, but please consider hitting that like button. It helps algorithmically, I think. Meaning, I think it helps people find the stream. So if you get a chance, please hit that thumbs up button. It would be really appreciated. At the same time, I do stream weekdays, Mondays through Fridays at 2 p.m. Central every Monday through Friday. So if you want to get notified about that, make sure you're a subscriber. Please consider subscribing. Hit that bell notification. Hit this stupid jargon that I have to say for YouTube. It's just a way to support, and it really does help my channel, I think. And then before I move on really quick, for you guys who are in chat, if you're watching, and you see people with green in their name, or you see people with a red Chicago star next to their name, that is because they are part of the Phone Jerome fam, and you can be one too for as little as 99 cents a month. All you got to do is click that join button. You'll get the green in your name, you'll get the red Chicago badge, and you'll get to use custom emoji. You'll also get your name in every single one of my intros and outros to my live streams. There are other tiers for that as well, but again, you could do it for as little as 99 cents a month for just those basic perks. And if you can't find that join button, you can go to youtube.com/Phone Jerome/join. And that's it. That's the only time you'll hear me talk about this. It's just a way to support. So if you guys can support in that way, that would be great. It would be appreciated. And now we can move on. So the next, I see other chat here. Let me go through that first before I go. I love tech a lot, bro. You got a lot of caps. I got 10 caps. You got the whole store and more. I do. I have a lot. I've been collecting them for years, and I try to keep them clean, and I try to like take care of them. And I have some hats that are like 6-7 years old that still look like they're brand new, because that's just how I roll. Especially when I don't feel like, doing anything with my hair. Not that I have much right now anyway, since I shaved my head, but I'm trying to grow it back out. But yeah. Anyway, I love tech a lot. Welcome to the stream. 6 is in here. KOTOR equals, Knights of the Old Republic, best RPG Star Wars game. If anybody knows their gaming, it's 6. And from what I've been reading, Team Verizon is pretty up to his games too. So for you guys I think you guys would probably get along when it comes to gaming. 6, welcome to the stream, man. Jay Mill says, literally just hit the like button before you was saying it. Thank you, J Mill. Appreciate it, man. I love Tech a lot, hitting that like button as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It's a masterpiece. Wish they'd port over the sequel too. I've never heard of that game. I'm not an RPG person anyway, and I think some of you guys know. And before anybody gives me flack for it, I've never watched Star Wars. I'm gonna leave it at that. I know, don't hate me. I've never seen Star Wars in my life. Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk tech, because this is what this is. This isn't Star Wars. This article from Slash Gear says the Galaxy Note 20 in-hand images show early key details. So this week, a set of images of the Samsung Note 20 were leaked with what appeared to be a near final look at the smartphone's hardware. So this is, I think, the most we got for it so far. This device will likely come in at least 2 iterations, one with a relatively flat display, the other with a display with curves along its left and right side. Why one with a curved edge? Both versions likely have a camera array, not unlike what we see here, with a number of lenses, LED flash, and the potential for 3D sensing abilities. The version of the Note 20 we're seeing here was leaked with a set of details from a user by the name of Jimmy is Promo. This device is said to have a Qualcomm 865 Plus. So, did I just not read an article about the Snap 865 Plus not being in the Note 20? This one is saying that it's going to have it. So, guys, I just hold your breath, or don't hold your breath, because I have no idea which one it's going to come with. In one iteration, and likely a Samsung Exynos 992 in the other. The Note 20 here has a 6.8-inch display with 120 hertz image refresh rate. This version of the Note 20 has the curved display, and as you can see here, there's a distinct possibility that this early iteration of the smartphone isn't quite tuned as well as it should be for final release. So here's the one with the curved edges. The Note 20 will likely have an S Pen stylus that's largely similar to its predecessors. This one comes in black. It's possible this color for the phone and the stylus are not finalized. They could just be in place in this fashion for a low profile test of the unit. Okay, if the leaks here from Jimmy is Promo are entirely accurate, this larger device will include a time of flight 3D sensor at the bottom of the at the bottom of the tower of cameras at its back, with additional sensors besides. The Note 20 lineup will likely appear at an August 6, 2020 event. I think I saw somebody post a flyer of this event, and it looked like it was like a splash or whatever, and it was in that bronze color. I don't know why I didn't pull that up. But yeah, so August 6th, this event for the Note 20. I don't know if any of you are waiting for the Note 20. If you are, let me know in chat. We're expecting the Galaxy Note 20, Note 20 Pro and or Max and or Plus, as well as a Galaxy Z Flip, Galaxy Z Fold, a set of tablets, and a watch. That is a lot of devices for Samsung. It's going to be a crazy, large, and yet virtual event, to be sure. So even if you're not looking for a Note 20, are any of you in the market for a Z Flip, a Z Fold? I don't even really know. Oh yeah, okay, no, now I remember the difference. And then a tablets, a watch, that's a lot of stuff from Samsung. That's a lot of new hardware in a short amount of time, especially after having their S20 and then the A71 5G and all of these other devices. Samsung just has a ton of stuff that's coming down the pipelines at this point. Okay, so Ryu says iOS 14 versus Android 11. I'm asking, how much more polished do you think Android needs to be before people say it's as refined as iOS? You know what? This is a different question, because I think this can kind of go two different ways. I need to put my camera a little lower because it seems like it's too high. There we go. That seems more in focus. So here's the thing is, are you saying Android, like how much more polished do you think it needs to be before it's like completely done? Or are you saying that iOS 11 or Android 11 is just unpolished in general? Because I think, at least the way I feel about it is, I feel like if we're talking about Android 10, I feel like Android 10 is pretty polished for what it is. I think it's a solid OS. I think if anything, iOS 11 is really the one that's a little behind, or iOS 10, iOS 13, whatever. But I feel like, why am I getting really confused right now? Yeah, so iOS 14, I feel like, is a good step up, right? To a more customizable OS. I don't know if polished or refined is the word for it or the term for it. I feel like it's good for what it is. It's good for, I think, a good amount of people, but for people who are a little more tech savvy, who want a little more customization, I think iOS 14 is a welcome addition. I think getting very confused. I think Android 10, Android 11, I feel like are good iterations of a more customizable OS. I don't know if I would call them unpolished, to be honest with you. I'm pretty happy with what they are. I think the notification system on Android 10 and Android 11 is way better than the notification system on Android or on iOS 13 and probably even 14. I haven't had a chance to download the beta yet. Polished in comparison to iOS. Yeah, I don't know. I think, at least for me, I think Android 10 is pretty polished. I think it's pretty well done, and I know that they make tweaks every now and then to kind of like get things better. You know, the things that I feel like they really need work on in terms of Android is getting a lot of other things baked in, like the screen recorder being baked in, right? Like I think that's something that's been overdue for quite a while. But I think in terms of a lot of other things, I think they've been pretty good. The only other thing that really annoys me is like when I complain about Google Maps, like their own in-house apps being updated to iOS before Android. I think that's an issue. I think Google kind of shoots themselves in the foot for not catering to their Android community and instead catering to iOS first. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with what I have. Yeah, notifications in iOS are just bad. It's like I feel like I lose those notifications all the time. Six says the Note 20 seems like a minor upgrade from the Note 10. The camera doesn't really entice me, and the 120 hertz, though I want it. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like you just want the latest and greatest, right? I don't think I'll enjoy the phone looking exactly as my Note 10. So that's a fair point, and I'm glad you said that. I really don't know how good the camera is going to be on the Note 20 either. I don't know what they're going to fix. I know that they said they fixed the autofocus issues for the Note 20 so that it's not going to have the same issues as the S20 Ultra, but I feel like that should have never been an issue in the first place. Yeah. I do like the bronze color though, but that's, again, that shouldn't really be a selling point. That shouldn't be a reason you upgrade just to upgrade. So, but thank you for your feedback, Six. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I was referring to user experience, like certain apps working better on iOS. And that's the thing, Ryu's. That's the thing that kind of upsets me is a lot of apps sometimes on Android are still not where it needs to be, and iOS usually just has the better app. Instagram for one, right? Just little things on Instagram seem to work better on iOS than it does, at least for me on Android. The fact that things like, and I talked about this yesterday, the Chase app, the banking app, Capital One app, those have the Chase app just got Face Unlock added onto it. My Capital One app does not have that, and that's way overdue. And my iPhone, my iPhone 11 Pro has had that for some time. I really don't know how you fix that issue. I really don't, until other developers, until Android maybe takes a more serious approach at what they're doing to make things more streamlined. But I don't know when that's going to happen. I really don't. Okay, so let's move on, guys. We're 40 minutes into it. Let's go ahead and let's actually talk about Android. We'll talk about Android 11, and we'll talk about their new beta. So media controls get previously teased redesign, and then missing for some. I thought I had an article that was more based on just Android 11 Beta 2 in general, but maybe there's a link to it here. One of the features we've been watching closely in the Android 11 Beta and developer preview period, the new media player controls interface has gotten a familiar looking redesign with Android 11 Beta 2. For years now, Android has let apps handle media controls through an ongoing notification with built-in controls. As part of a larger effort to revamp notifications in Android 11, these media controls notifications have been converted into a card that now consistently lives above Android's quick settings. So this is the card I think they're referring to here. Right. Is that what I'm guessing? Is that it's always there? So, but I feel like that's already, I don't know. Strangely, though, both in our own testing and according to reader reports, some devices seem to be locked into the old notification-based design for media controls. In one case, this occurred even when the previous quote, media resumption toggle in developer options was turned on. Thinking back to beta 1, Google gave us an animated preview of the media controls, which looked surprisingly different from what was available on our devices at the time. So yeah, you see this card right here. It looks like it's just right into the the quick toggle or whatever. The reason the media resumption card was off center before is because the area was horizontally scrollable so that you could switch between multiple active media apps. In the new design, you can of course still scroll between apps, but now the contents of the cards are being scrolled instead of scrolling between cards. This is very wordy and it makes it a little more confusing at this point. Okay, so like this is Spotify here. So Google Play Music has the thumbs up and thumbs down. Why doesn't it have that here? And then you can see here as well for this card, you can go ahead and pick what audio device or what device you want the audio to play off of. Other changes include putting the current output device, such as phone speaker, into a larger button, making it easier to tap. And so actually, let's go ahead here and talk about Android 11 Beta 2. So again, from 9 to 5 Google, introduces a wildly different non-material ripple effect. So Android 11 Beta 2 is here today with platform stability for app developers and a slew of refinements ahead of the consumer launch later in Q3. I will say I have Android 11 Beta 1. And I've had a lot of apps that are closing on me. I don't know, for anyone that has Android 11, the beta, have you had issues with it? Because I've had apps close on me quite a bit. And I've also had this issue on YouTube where the video just ends up getting really jittery. And I either have to close the app and reopen it to play it properly. But I think those are the two big things I've noticed. Telegram closes on me a lot, and an issue with YouTube. So I guess I can't say a lot of apps, but those are two apps I use a lot for me. So I can only imagine that other apps are having stability issues as well. I'll have to download beta 2 and see if that's changed anything at this point. So media controls in Android 11 are now part of quick settings with the design tweaked again for this release. Google also introduced a new ripple gesture that is distinctly not material and feels widely different for Android. I'll have to take a look at that. Material design has always had the concept of, quote, ripples when tapping or holding down on a button. They are, quote, visual representations used to communicate the status of a component or interactive element. After pressing, the button takes on a darker tint and, quote, waves spread out from the point of contact. They are usually bound by the shape of the button, with a demo available here. So, okay, this is just media controls, but let me take a look at this demo and see what we're talking about. Is that what it means? This is the ripple effect. Okay, and just different versions of it. Okay, I mean, these are little things that I probably haven't even really noticed. In Android 11 Beta 2, the new ripple gesture appears when you tap on a button. This includes play, pause, forwards, backwards, and the device audio switcher. Sorry, my phone is going off, guys. The moment you lay a finger, the white ripple appears and it gently spreads following an actual button press. Okay, I see what they're saying. That's the ripple effect, right? The entire media controls card is treated as the container for the ripple, but the wave does not encompass the entire rounded box. Rather, it ends before reaching the edges. So you'll see here, the ripple effect only goes throughout. This is such a little minute detail. That's a very like detailed thing to talk about. This new ripple in Android 11 does not correspond to depth. If anything, it feels as if the entire screen is flat. At the moment, the gesture completely ignores the confines of the pill-shaped phone speaker button. Okay, so is that another example of that there? Last month, Google briefly showed off the ripple when demoing the new media controls. In the GIF below, ignore the red circle, which is just visual feedback for taps, and compare the music notification ripple versus the standard wave when selecting Nest Hub. Okay, I'm not going to get into all of that. At the moment, this visual effect is limited to the new media controls and quick settings. It's not available in any other part of the OS. That's a very long article about a ripple effect. But yes, okay. with that being said, Android 11 Beta 2 is available. I have not downloaded it yet. I will take a look at it later, maybe mess around with it and really see if there's much else to talk about there. So that's it for Android 11 Beta 2. Okay, let me scroll back up here. Six is saying true social media apps and most apps in general on iOS have a polish that Android has yet to achieve. I agree, Six. I'm on board with you there. Krishna, Teha, Krishna, welcome to the stream, man. Nice to see you again. ROG 3 going to launch on July 22nd. Do you think it's coming with an IP68 rating? I would imagine that it would. Is there a reason that it wouldn't? Is there something on the ROG 3 that would affect an IP68 rating? I would think for a phone that expensive with packed with that many specs that it should have an IP68 rating. If it doesn't, then I'm guessing that there is some kind of limitation because of what they're adding onto the gaming phone. That's the best answer I can give you, Krishna. So I'm really not sure. But I did talk about the ROG 3 earlier because we were talking about the 865 Plus. But Krishna, welcome to the stream, man. Nice to have you. Deepak P says the ROG 3 may have a 300 hertz touch sampling rate. Highest ever is 240. I believe 240 is where it's at. I had no idea about the 300 either. Funny, you guys are bringing up the ROG 3 now when I was talking about it earlier. But Deepak P, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you, man. Welcome. Nice to have you back again. Hopkins says, Jerome, Mr. Who's the Boss was switching to iPhone exactly for the reason that Instagram kills the quality of photos on Android, makes them kind of blurry. And that's the thing, Hopkins. Hopkins, by the way, welcome, right? I didn't see you earlier. Did I? Anyway, that's the one thing. I have kind of noticed that as well on Android, but I have kind of been ignoring that, thinking maybe it's just my eyes. But even the one thing that bothers me about Instagram on Android versus iOS is like the fact that when I use Instagram, because I'll use Instagram to still edit some of my photos or at least finalize a photo before I put it up on Instagram, is the grid. And that grid on iOS gives me like a 3x3 grid or 3x3 grid. And it's really helpful to make sure everything's straight and whatever. And on Android, I know for a while they removed that grid. And now I think they've added it back, but it's only a 2x2 grid. And it's such a tiny little thing to fuss over, but it makes a difference. And the fact that Android doesn't add that on there doesn't make any sense to me. Like, who is overseeing it that we can't have the same functionality or whatever on Android that's on iOS? And so now when I edit photos or whatever on Instagram, I'm doing it on my iPhone and not on my Android phone, which I don't know, it just shouldn't be. Just a weird thing. Okay. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Let's move on. What do I have here? Because I'm not going to be able to go through everything today. So Google Video reveals Android 11 will likely launch on September 8th for the Pixels at least. So Android 11, the next major update to Google's mobile operating system, is likely to begin rolling out on September 8th. As noted by the sharp eyes at Android Police, the date was shown in a slide during a video for the company's, I'm not going to say this because I don't want things to go off, Smart Home Summit. At around the 18 mark, you can see, quote, checklist for September 8th Android 11 launch right at the top of the slide. So right here. And Google's Michelle Turner says we're launching everywhere on September 8th when talking about the new Android 11 power menu that offers easier access to smart home consoles and toggles. So Android 11 includes a number of improvements, including revamped notifications that give messaging apps their own, quote, conversation section. I've talked about this in the past. The update also adds native screen recording and, quote, bubbles that sit on top of other apps that easily let you return to a chat. Media controls and quick settings have been redesigned. And as I mentioned above, the menu that appears when you hold down the power button now does a lot of different things. Now, here's the thing. This article from, this is not the right one. That was the next one. This article from Android Authority is saying Google responds to the leaked Android 11 release date rumor. So what they're saying here is a Google rep revealed a potential Android 11 launch date. Google confirmed to Android Authority that this was an error and that plans have yet to be finalized. So take it with a grain of salt. You know, maybe they added that in there because that's what they thought, but now it looks like that might not be the case. But it says here the September 8 launch date is roughly in line with the Android 10 schedule last year. So if they do release it, I'm assuming it's going to be released around the same time anyway. It looks like the rumored Android 11 release date could be false. Google confirmed to Android Authority that September 8 Android 11 release date was an error and that the launch date is not yet to be confirmed. That doesn't rule out a September 8 launch date completely, but for now, the company claims the release date has yet to be finalized. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be probably sometime around September. But who knows? That could change, especially the fact that Google has been changing things up lately. The Pixel 4a as a great example, because we have no idea when that phone's going to come out. Although my hopes are still by the end of the month, by the end of July, but who knows? So Android 11, maybe around September. The fact that they've now released the beta 2 for it just goes to show that they might have Android 11 ready to go by then. So we'll wait and see. Okay. I'm trying to think. Okay, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about it because I know I have this as part of my title in here. So this article from Android Authority is talking about how Samsung could follow Apple in killing the inbox phone charger. This conversation had to be had, and it's not a conversation that I really care to talk about just because it's kind of divisive. But okay, so let's start with Apple. There has been a lot of talk that the next iPhone isn't going to have earpods, right? Like wired earbuds. Or earbuds in general, and it's not going to have a charger in it. Apple has already removed things like the dongle, right? So you can't use, you have to buy a dongle separately if you want to use a 3.5 millimeter wired earbud. But apparently they're not going to have, a lightning earbud connector or a wired set of lightning earbuds. And now there's talk that Samsung is going to do the same. They're not going to have a charger in it. I don't know about the earbuds. I haven't read this article, but we'll get into it. We'll talk about it for a minute. So Samsung could sell smartphones without chargers as early as 2021. Rumors point to Apple also possibly dropping the charger from the iPhone 12's box. It could mean lower phone costs, but higher accessory prices. So before I even go into that, let me, I meant to switch it this way. I see a super chat here. I'll get into that in a second. Thank you, Brian, by the way. But what I want to talk about is how I feel about not having a charger or not having a pair of earbuds in these phones. As someone in tech, right? As someone that buys a lot of phones, I couldn't care less. I really couldn't. I don't want a dinky 5-watt charger when I buy an iPhone 11, right? I don't want that. I wouldn't use it. I have no need for it. I have a lot of chargers that sit in a box right now and they're just collecting dust. That's me because I buy a lot of phones. I do tech reviews. So for me, it's really not that big of a deal. But and I say the same with wired earbuds. I have my own pair of wired earbuds, a 3.5 millimeter wired pair, and then I have a pair of AirPods. So I'm okay when it comes to that kind of stuff. But what I want to talk about though is for people who don't buy phones that often, this is an issue for them. This is an issue where they feel like they might be getting cheated, especially if they only have one charger and they expect to have it in there or a pair of earbuds so they can talk, on the phone with a wired connection or listen to their music. I think that's part of the experience is having that. An argument can easily be made saying, well, who cares? That's a poor people's problem or whatever. And I think that's a cop out, right? I don't like that answer. I'm not saying that a company needs to do it, that they need to always include a charger and a pair of earbuds or whatever. But I think to respect for the consumer, then you go ahead and you make sure that you let them know that none of that is going to be in the box and that they're going to need to spend money to pick one up or at least have one already. there is one bigger point I want to make when it comes to that, but we'll talk about that in a second, because let me get through this article. When rumors emerged that Apple would not bundle a charger or earpods with the iPhone 12, many probably chalked it up to Apple being Apple. Now it seems that Android manufacturers may be adopting a similar strategy. According to Korea's ET News, Samsung is considering selling its smartphones without inbox chargers from as early as next year. While the Korean manufacturer hasn't confirmed the news, it's possible that keeping costs down could be one reason for the decision. And that's the big point I want to make here. I want to talk about money when it comes down to this. Smartphone prices have skyrocketed in the past decade thanks to higher hardware prices. The S20 Ultra launched at $1,500, with many other manufacturers pushing and breaking the $1,000 barrier with their current flagships. Companies like Apple and Samsung could also use the excuse of users having legacy power adapters from previous phone purchases. That might be true for some enthusiasts, but new entrants into the smartphone space may not be in the same position. And there you go. You could also argue that eliminating inbox chargers is just another accessory cash generator for the company. Samsung has previously come under fire for selling a $50 45-watt fast charger for the Galaxy S20 Ultra, while only including a 25-watt charger in the box. And that's weird, right? That really doesn't make sense. You're going to go ahead and you're going to tout that your phone comes with a 45-watt fast charging capability, but you're not going to include that when you're spending $1,500 for a phone. I feel like people are getting cheated in that scenario. So ditching the charger could further normalize the practice of charging excessive fees for essential accessories. It likely won't lead to noticeably cheaper phone prices either, just more expensive power adapters. And then there's a poll. I'm not really going to get into that right now, but so here's what I want to talk about. I see this in two different ways, and kind of like what I was talking about earlier. People might not be buying phones that often, so they need a charger. They need these other accessories that come with the phone. Now Apple's talking about getting rid of it. Samsung's talking about getting rid of it. And they're saying they might be getting rid of it because it'll save them money, right? It'll save money on the price of the phones. You can also argue there's an environmental issue with that as well, which I feel like is fair. If you're not going to use it, then why are you going to, you're just wasting more electronics at that point. But when I want to talk about money here, I don't think the company is doing this to save the consumer money. I don't think they're not adding a charger to save the consumer money. They're not adding earbuds in there because they want to save the consumer money. They want to save themselves money. I have no idea what it costs to create these chargers, or these 5-watt, small chargers that Apple makes, or a pair of earbuds. Pennies, right? I'm assuming pennies to manufacture millions and millions of these things. So for me, I feel like at the end of the day, they're just looking out for themselves. It's the bottom dollar kind of effect, right? If they probably looked at the numbers and said, well, if we cut this out, we can save ourselves X amount. We can still charge the same amount. We just read this article. The article said they're still going to probably sell these phones at, extraordinary prices or whatever, really expensive prices. And the only person that wins here is the company, the corporation. At least that's what I get out of it. And that's why, like, I feel like the consumer never wins, because now for someone like me, it doesn't matter. The only thing that I really cared about is, like, for example, the Huawei P40 Pro Plus, right? Like, this has 40-watt wired charging, and I'm glad that it came with a 40-watt wired charging brick, right? It came with a 40-watt one, right? I haven't even looked into it, but I used it to charge up the phone, and it charges super fast. And I would have been upset if it didn't come with one. I would have felt a bit cheated. I spent $1,300. It didn't come with a 40-watt wired charging brick. We just read this article that the Galaxy S20 Ultra has the capability to charge at 45 watts, and it didn't even come with a 45-watt charging brick instead of 25-watt one, which is fast. But why tout 45 watts when you don't even supply it? You're going to go ahead and you're going to charge your consumer another $50. So yeah, I think you guys know what I'm trying to get at here. We can have an argument all day about should they remove it, should they not remove it. But I think at the end of the day, they're not looking out for the consumer. They're looking out for themselves. And other people can sit here and tell me, well, that's like I said, that's a poor people's problem. If you don't have the money for it, too bad, so sad. But I don't like that excuse. I think that's unfair to the consumer. And we can disagree on that. That's fine. But for someone like me who also pays money for these phones, right? Yes, I've gotten free phones and I usually never get them again because I am very blunt with my reviews and I don't like to leave anything out. But for people like me who spend their hard-earned money on phones, and I feel like I want the best for the consumer, and I will always fight for the consumer at the end of the day. So that's how I feel about it. I'm going to leave it at that. We can always circle back to this one day if you guys ever want to talk about it, but that's how I feel when it comes to that subject. So let me go ahead and scroll back up here. I know Brian had a $1 super chat. So Brian, thank you so much, man. Thank you for the continued support. As always appreciate you going that extra step, that extra mile in supporting me that way. So thank you so much, Brian. Okay. Let me go back up here. You're taking the hat out of the bag. This is something that I've been trying to work with 267. So I will talk about that later. Let me see here. So Paul is in here. Paul says, made it. Hi. Hey, what's going on, Paul? Welcome to the stream, man. I got your Facebook friend request. I accepted you. It's nice to actually put a face to a name instead of me always thinking you're David Hasselhoff. Paul, welcome to the stream, man. Glad you're here. Okay, let me go back up here. Okay, Brian, there you go. I knew there was something to it. ROG phones have fans. The giant hole is not good for water resistance. Thank you, Brian, for sharing that. Marcus says Google knows it's easier to develop for iOS. That's why updates happen quicker for Apple users. That was my assumption too. Google's trying to find a way to make updates across the Android user base easier. I just don't know when that's going to happen. That's the thing. Krishna says I'm interested in the ROG 3 because today Qualcomm launched the 865 Plus. Yeah, Krishna, if you watch my stream, if you replay it later on and watch the beginning, I had a whole article about the 865 Plus. So if you get a chance, feel free. Hashtag replay. Okay, let me scroll back down here. Ryu says, I feel like OnePlus should have a deeper partnership with Google for things like the camera and software improvements. Samsung's going their own with Android, but I think OnePlus will be the new face of Android eventually. I can see that, Ryu. I feel like Google has had a couple missteps already. That's the unfortunate thing. If we can go back all the way to Moto with Motorola, when Motorola was in their heyday and they were making the Moto X Pure, and then Google collaborated with them to make the Nexus 6. And then Google ended up buying Motorola. I really thought that Motorola was going to be the face of the new Pixel lineup, and it just didn't become a thing. And we can say that Google should work with OnePlus, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. We can only cross our fingers that better things will be coming down the road. So, okay, Krishna says Red Magic phones will never have IP68. Yeah, fair enough. A lot of these other phones have cooling components and all these other things to it. So, yeah, I don't know if they'll ever reach that kind of IP68 capacity. I mean, it's like you look at these gaming phones as like PCs, right? My PC is never going to be in that road of like being IP68 water and dust resistant. So, well, maybe the case is, I don't know. Anyway, other topic for another day. So, okay, let me go back into chat here when we're talking about this. Team Verizon says back in 2011, 2012, Samsung was accused of copying Apple a lot. Will it remain the same this year? Maybe, at least in terms of some of this stuff here, like removing the headphone jack, now removing the the charging brick and all that kind of stuff, but who knows? Marcus A says, although not packing in a charger is an unpopular take, I still have my Pixel 4 stock charger in the box. There you go. And I'm the same way. I have a lot of my old chargers and cables that I've never even opened or never even used. Hopkins says, no, Samsung, you were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the dark side, not join them. Have they though? Have they always been on the opposite ends, or have they really been following suit in some regards, you know? Okay. Ryu says, I get the pros of not having a charger, but at the same time, it's kind of dumb. John M. Hey, John M. Welcome to the stream. Samsung lets Apple do controversial things in the smartphone industry, then they proceed to follow it. Very true. I agree with you there. There are people in select countries that need the new charger still, and I also agree with that. Team Varai, have you ever heard of Apple taking away the charger? Samsung, is it possible to learn this power? Ryu says, at least if they're going to do it, give the people the option to choose. There you go. Okay, let me see here. Hopkins says they're not doing it in order to save the world, but make more money, and it creates even more waste with extra packaging. I hear you, man. I mean, like, again, it can go both ways. I just feel like there's no, the way I feel about it is they're not thinking about an environmental impact. They'll just use it as their narrative for doing what they're doing, right? I don't look at it as they're trying to save people money, because that's really not what they're trying to do either. They're trying to figure out their bottom dollar. Their bottom dollar is more important than anything else. And, that's how I feel about it. That's my opinion on it. People can disagree, but really, I feel like a lot of us feel very similar when it comes to that. Okay, so I'm trying to think of how I segue into this. Okay, what I want to talk about is I want to give an update on my Huawei P40 Pro Plus. So now I've had this phone for 2 days. And yesterday I talked about how it is very hard to live with this phone without a lot of apps, because it's not just Google apps, it's other apps as well. When it comes to things like Reddit, when it comes to things like Twitch, Twitter, there are a bunch of them that I haven't even named. I have been having issues because I can't use them, because even though they're not Google focused or Google based, I believe they use Google's framework, and that they haven't made the framework or whatever, however it works. I'm not a developer guy, so I don't know all the internals on that. They just don't have these apps for Huawei to be used on Huawei. So here's the thing. There are ways around it. And that is what I spent time using yesterday when it comes to my P40 Pro Plus. I have talked about now, you guys have seen the unboxing. You've seen the 24 hours after, trying to figure out like what to use, what not to use. So far, I'm still using the stock UI. The stock UI is very good. It seems still very reminiscent of stock Android. I'm just like looking through the phone now to see what I have on it, but there were a lot of, I've went ahead and I've switched different apps. So because I don't have Google Chrome, I use the Opera app. Messaging, I still have Telegram that was available in Huawei's app gallery, which is like their app store for the P40 Pro Plus or Huawei in general. I'm just going through and seeing what other apps I have here that I've switched over that were available. And then instead of like, what was I saying? I just use the stock email app, which seems to work fine. And I've even used the stock browser app, which seems good as well. For the most part, a lot of these apps do work fine, and they're a decent substitute for Google, but there have been some mishaps. There have been some hurdles, and that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So what ended up happening yesterday is I was like, okay, I can't use any of my banking apps. I can't use my Chase app. I can't use my Capital One app. I'm just looking at the phone right now. I can't use Instagram. Instead of using Google Maps, I use now an app called the Here app, the Here We Go app, which is a Nokia made app, I believe. And I used it yesterday. I used it like in real time. in my car, and it works really well. It works really well. It has a, you can change the voices on it, but it defaults to a British female doing the navigation. It doesn't tell you the street names of where to turn, but it's funny because the Here We Go app is actually really good. It's a good transit app. So if you are looking for a substitute, even if you're using Android or iOS, maybe take a look at it and see how you like it. It has, it started beeping at me when I went over the speed limit because it records how fast you're going. Not other apps do this as well. I had to turn that off because it got really annoying. But it was funny using that Here We Go app because at one point when I had to get on the expressway, so here in Chicago, I know other places call it highways or freeways, but here in Chicago, we usually call everything the expressway, unless you're on the, you're using the toll, then that's the tollway or whatever. But when I had to get on the expressway, the app told me to get on the motorway, and I started laughing because I've never heard motorway before. I'm assuming that's what it's called elsewhere. I don't know how many places use motorway, but the app worked really well. I was pleasantly surprised. So I have a good substitute for navigation, but other things, again, like I said, I don't have a substitute for Instagram. I don't have a substitute for my banking apps. I don't have a substitute for Reddit or Discord or Slack or Twitter. Like, these are all things that I cannot use on my Huawei. And so yesterday I spent some time trying to figure out how I was going to get these apps back. And the one thing that I found out, and I'll just share a couple of things that I used to get this to work. So I'm just going to share this now because it's part of my experience, and it's probably something that I'm going to try to share as I start using this phone. So for my P40 Pro, and I'm just putting it up here so people know that I'm talking about the P40 Pro. So for things like Twitch, and I'm trying to think of, I don't have Facebook on here, but Facebook was one of the options. Facebook Messenger was one of the options. But for Twitch, I was able to download the Amazon App Store. And the Amazon App Store is, well, here's a screen, not a screenshot, but this is the Amazon App Store, I guess, live or whatever. And the Amazon App Store allows you to download other apps like Instagram, like Twitch, and it'll update it. So I was able to get Instagram and Twitch using the Amazon App Store. And I didn't really know that was a possibility until I did a little research and figured out I was able to get some of those apps. There are other apps in here as well. Like I said, Facebook's in here, Messenger's in here. And so that was a way to solve that problem. Now I have Instagram on my phone, which is great. I can use my Huawei P40 Pro Plus now for that. I can use Twitch again. The thing with Twitch is every time I open Twitch up, and I'll try to open it up right now. When I open Twitch up, well, it didn't say it this time. Let me actually close the app and reopen it. There we go. When I open Twitch up, it says Twitch won't run. You probably can't see that here. Anyway, it says Twitch won't run without Google Play services, which are not supported by your device. And then you just hit OK. But at the end of the day, I'm still able to watch people stream on Twitch live. So I'm still able to use Twitch fine. I'm not really doing anything else on Twitch except watch other streamers. So that works. I was able to get Twitch. I was able to get Instagram. Made me happy. Here's the other thing, and I'll share this with you guys right now. If you can see right here, I have the Chase app. Right above it, I have the Capital One app. I have, where is it? Right here. I have Discord right here. I haven't set it up yet. And then I have Reddit right there. And I have Slack right there. So I was able to get a lot of other apps on here. How did I get these apps? I used, and I'm sure people who own Huawei phones or have used it know about this app, but it's called Phone Clone, right? And so Phone Clone is right here. And you can see it's really simple. It asks you right away, is it for, you let Phone Clone know if this is your new phone or if it's your old phone. So if it's your new phone, it tells you what your old phone is. Asks if it's a Huawei phone. It asks if it's an other Android phone, or it asks if it's an iPhone or an iPad. And so like what I did is I used my Pixel 4. So I just picked other Android, and then what you need to do, and you can use phone clone on any phone. You can use it on iOS. They have it at the App Store. They have it on the Google Play Store. So you download phone clone on your other phone, and then you use like a QR code to hotspot the phones together. I'm not going to go through all of that. If you guys actually need help with that, please let me know in the comments, or I'll probably clip this video out too to talk about that. But again, you'll get this part here. You scan the QR code to connect the two phones together, and then you can move apps over, and it worked fine. The only issues I had is like I use something called the Zero app, which is a fasting app that I use. And when I tried to log into that, it wouldn't let me log into it because I had originally signed in when I initially used it. I think I originally signed in using just sign in with Google. So when it came to stuff like that, I had issues with that. So that's something I'm going to need to look into. But so far, I've been able to move a good amount. Oh, the one thing I talked about this yesterday. The thing that I was really upset about was the fact that I could not get Spotify, and now I have Spotify on it using phone clone, and the music plays fine. I'm able to use my AirPods Pro on it, and like I feel like I have a good amount of apps on here now, which really makes me happy. The only things I'm missing are like the actual centralized Google apps that I've been trying to live without anyway. So far I have a lot of everything on it. Now here's the thing about phone clone. This is something that I need to share with you. By the way, the banking apps work fine. Capital One works fine. Chase works fine. And I'm able to use my fingerprint reader with it. So I don't have to add my passwords. Now, here's the con with using something like phone clone. It does not get updates. I don't think it updates properly. So what ends up happening is if, let's say there's a big update or whatever, I think you would need to use phone clone again, like you need to update it on your other Android phone and then port it over. Which I don't know. I guess it isn't the worst. It's tedious, right? It's tedious. I'm not going to lie. So I would have to wait for a big update or whatever and just be like, okay, now I'm going to have to uninstall the app and reinstall it. So it's not the best solution in the world. But for now, I think it is a stopgap until something gets figured out with Huawei. Whether or not something gets figured out, I don't know. But in the meantime, that is what I'm going to work with. I will also share with you yesterday, I tested the camera on this phone. I knew it was going to be a good camera from what I've read. I haven't had a chance to pull the images out yet, but from what I'm seeing, I am thoroughly impressed. I am actually the one thing I'm really impressed about so far is the telephoto camera on it, the periscope or whatever. 10 times optical zoom is no joke. How good 10 times optical zoom is. I was testing it out with my Pixel 4, and you guys will see all of this when I have the video put out because I'm putting a higher production video. You guys know how I do on my camera comparisons, and I'll be able to share that. But the camera is pretty top notch on it, and I'm really excited to share my results. I have noticed though that at least from what I've seen, the Pixel 4 seems to still really hold its own and maybe in some cases still be better, but I won't know until I actually get all of these photos up on my PC and I'm able to kind of like dig in and zoom in, and I'll be able to share all of that with you guys then. But so far, the P40 Pro Plus is still amazing. I'm so happy I'm able to get a lot of the apps that I haven't been able to use on here now. I'm going to keep using the substitutes like the Here We Go app for maps, Opera for the browser. I just downloaded some new note-taking app. It's like a notebook app called Zeho or something, Zeho. I have to take a look at it. I can't remember. My banking apps are on here. So yeah, I feel like I have a good amount of stuff on here now. I just have to like keep using it, and I'll keep sharing my experience with you guys in the near future. So anyway, I think that is it for today. I do want to thank everybody for stopping by. I'm going to go ahead and get through chat again right before I call it a day. So let me see here. Marcus says camera comparison hype. Yeah. And so like, I don't have the photos to show you just yet, but I will share all of that with you guys in the near future when I have a video taken. Adrian says, if they're nature eco-friendly with the charger, bring the old one and get a new one for free. So that's a great idea, Adrian. That's a wonderful idea. But I don't think companies are thinking environmentally when it comes to their stuff. It's just like, let's make 18 million devices. Let's sell them to as many people as we can. And as far as waste, that's how they feel about it, is a big shrug emoji. Marcus says here, all smartphone manufacturers gather user data of some sort. Huawei was one of the upcoming tech giants. Then the US sent an arrow to their knee. Yeah, and I think it's more than an arrow to their knee. Marcus, that's such a great way of putting it. I mean, I don't know if you were here when I was talking about the Kirin chipset. So Huawei uses the Kirin 990 chipset, and now the US just put another hurdle to them, saying that they're no longer able to use Kirin as their chipsets, and now they might have to move over to MediaTek, and that might be a bigger issue. But yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of other companies are just as guilty as all of these things, and still there's no substantial evidence about Huawei being a national security threat. But you know, I don't know how a lot of these things work behind the scenes. And sometimes I just feel like it's a deal that went bad and this is their way of punishing them. But thank you for providing that feedback. That's a good point. Hopkins says, I use Here We Go as an offline navigation all the time. Works really well in Europe. So yeah, I've been pretty happy with that app, and I think it works pretty well. So I'll keep using it, and then share my experience with that, and I'll continue sharing that experience with you guys as well. So again, with that being said, I think that is it for today. I am running quite a bit late. I do have some other work to tend to afterwards. So this is it for today. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Want to thank everybody for joining, for liking, for subscribing. If you guys haven't liked or subscribed, please consider doing that. Please consider supporting me in that way. At least I think it's just a good way to get the channel keep moving. For everybody who's been in chat and has been commenting and joining the conversation, thank you so much as well. For all of my patrons, for all of my YouTube members, thank you for being a supporter. Thank you for supporting that way. I appreciate that so much. And also for everybody who's super chatted, not just today, but in the past. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for that continued support. Come back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central. We're going to do it all over again. We're going to talk about more tech, share whatever info I got, and just have another discussion about everything when it comes to tech under the sun. I said that wrong. But come back tomorrow is what I'm trying to get at. I am about to close out here. I'm playing the outro music as I wave bye. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.